Okay, fingerstyle basics. These are non-playing basics, or what I consider non-playing basics, that you just need to be aware of as you progress. It'll make things a little easier to follow certain streams or certain methods of playing fingerstyle guitar that are available to you. Things like, should I, use fingernails or no nails? Should I grow my nails out? Should I use a thumb pick or no thumb pick? What, school of thought should I follow as far as my basic fingerstyle technique? And that's the first thing that I want to cover with you, because that's the one that's probably going to affect you the most. There are three main camps for your basic overall fingerstyle technique. The first one is classical, the second one is folk, and the third one I call anchored. And I just want to go over those three methods or camps of playing fingerstyle guitar with you really quickly, so you can try each one out and then see which one works best for you in the long run. Now, I will tell you that I use all three from time to time, so that's probably what's going to happen with you kind of too, depending on which song you're playing. But as a starting point, let's just go over these three and I'll give you the pros and cons. So the first one is just classical guitar technique, and that's when you bring your fingers and thumbs to the guitar strings and nothing is anchored. Your hand is just kind of floating there. And the main advantage for this one is that you're free to kind of move around. You're not plugged in anywhere, anchored down. The disadvantage to that is it's a little bit harder for your fingers and thumb to memorize exactly where the strings are, because there's no point of reference, right? So that's the first one. And I end up using this one probably the most, just because that's the one that I started out with when I was in school, right? I took, 3 years of classical guitar, so that's the one I kind of gravitate to the most. But I do use the anchor one too, especially when I use a thumb pick. We'll get into that more later. The second style or camp for using fingerstyle guitar is the one that my dad uses a lot. And it's no wonder, because he grew up in the 60s when folk music was just exploding, and this one's called the folk method, right? And what happens is you end up using your pinky or your third finger here to anchor to the top of the guitar as a point of reference for where you are. And the main advantage to this one is that you have that point of reference, so your fingers and thumbs know exactly where the strings are at any given time. Now, the disadvantage to this one is your mobility. You're kind of stuck where you are. So there's a trade-off there. You may like it, you may not. You're gonna have to mess around with it to see if that works better for you, or if you prefer the more mobile but less anchored, classical method. Speaking of anchored, the last kind of camp that we need to go over is one that is used in Travis picking a lot in general, or if you're using a thumb pick, and that's when you anchor the ball of your hand right here, or the heel of your hand, to the bridge of the guitar. So you still have an anchored point with this one. It's very stable, but it does feel a little bit restrictive, like you're kind of tied there. But that can be good or it can be bad depending on what style of music you're playing and what song you're playing. So the advantage, you have an anchor point. Disadvantage, it's a little bit less mobile. So as you go through the following exercises, developing your finger technique, be sure to try all three of these camps: classical, folk, or anchored. All right, next little area of discussion is nails or no nails. Which one do you want to do? A lot of people think that you have to have nails to play fingerstyle guitar, and that's just not true. I've seen great fingerstyle guitarists with no nails. I don't know if you can see on this hand, I have pretty short nails. They're a little bit shorter than they normally are, especially my thumbnail right now, but they are like, you can hear them. I think nails give you a brighter sound on the strings, give you a little more attack and treble. And that might be good for you. You might not like that. It really depends on what you want, but you don't have to have nails. What's going to happen if you don't have nails, you don't grow your nails out, is your fingers are going to build up calluses, and those calluses will give you that brighter attack that you need if you're playing steel string guitar to a degree. But they are also, if you don't use nails, you also have a warmer sound. So you're going to have to really experiment with what you like. And it may take you a couple months for that. You may have to grow your nails out for a month, see if you like them. If you like it, great, leave it. If you don't like it, chop them off and start over. Now, a lot of people, a lot of my heroes actually, that are fingerstyle guitarists, people like Doyle Dykes, I'm drawing a blank. Tommy Emmanuel, have fake fingernails on their fingers, like Don Ross. And they just go to the salon and get fake fingernails put on because their fingernails aren't thick enough to keep up with the stresses of, playing steel strings over and over again. I'm lucky because I have really thick fingernails. And I haven't had to go the salon route yet. But the older I get, the more I suspect that I will have to do that someday. But I'll just do it on my own. I won't go to the salon, I don't think. Anyway, so nails or no nails? The short answer is it's up to you. Try to experiment to see what you like better. The last little non-playing topic that we need to address is thumb pick or no thumb pick. And the short answer to this, the simple answer, is it depends. It's up to you. I will say this though, if you do plan or if you feel like using a thumb pick is something you're interested in, then start right now because it takes a while to get used to it. And that's neither here nor there. It took me about a year to get used to using a thumb pick, but that might be because I started off with no thumb pick. I'm not sure, but most people that I know that get into using a thumb pick say it does take a while to get used to it. Anyway, the couple of advantages to using a thumb pick are you get more attack with the notes on your thumb. So on like on the bass strings versus just your thumb. See? So you get more volume and more attack. The other thing is that it's easy to, if you need a flat pick for something, or if you want to strum with it, then that's there for you too. The biggest disadvantage for using a thumb pick is you might become dependent on it. So if you don't have it with you, you're like, oh, I can't play anything. But if you don't use a thumb pick, you don't need a pick. You're not ever going to be reliant on it. You can just pick a guitar up and play whatever you want. One other advantage that I forgot to mention is that it's easier to mute the notes, the low notes on the guitar, like when you're doing some Travis picking or something like that. So that muted bass note line is much easier to do than it is without a thumb pick. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, the next topic that I get asked about a lot is nylon or steel string guitar. Which one should I go with? And the answer here again is it does not matter. Either one is fine. Go with whichever one you like the best or the one you feel inspired by the most. For me, that's got to be steel string, but for you, it could just as easily be nylon string. And if you're kind of having trouble deciding between which one you want to go with, if you haven't actually bought a guitar yet, just look at what your favorite guitar players are using and then go with that. That's always a simple solution. All right, the last thing that I want to mention for this non-playing kind of intro video is the use of a footstool. Now, you probably just saw my leg go down there. I always have a footstool when I'm playing guitar, when I'm playing electric or acoustic. It just elevates the guitar a little bit. And I have the guitar kind of parallel here. That's just for filming purposes so you can see what's going on. But if it wasn't, my guitar would be up like this. When you pull the neck up like that, it's going to make things a lot easier to get to. Now, if I didn't have a footstool here, the neck will be further down here, and that causes my wrist to kink. When I lift it up, my wrist automatically kinks, which is nice. And it's just a $20 footstool. If you don't have it, or if you can't go out and buy a footstool right now, use a phone book or a yoga block or whatever you have just to raise. Oops, sorry about that. Just to raise your guitar up. I don't know. It's about 4 or 5 inches, and these are adjustable too. So it can go all the way down to 3 inches up to like 7 or 8 inches too. So that's just something that'll make life a lot easier on both your fretting hand and your picking hand. That's it for the non-playing basics. In the next few lessons, we'll start the process of developing your actual guitar fingerstyle technique. If you have any questions about what we talked about in this lesson, just email us support@guitarfam.com or comment on this video. Or you can schedule a personal private one-on-one lesson with me. The first one's complimentary. Here are your assignments for this lesson. Number 1, experiment with the classical, folk, and anchored methods of picking the guitar. Number 2, over the next few months, experiment with nails or no nails. Number 3, pick up a thumb pick and give it a try, see if you like it. Number 4, if you haven't chosen between steel string or nylon string guitar yet, go to your music store and play around with each one to see which one you prefer. Number 5, go out and get a guitar footstool. And if you can't do that right now, use a phone book or anything you have laying around the house to prop up your foot. I'll see you in the next lesson where we'll start talking about thumb technique.